Hey story lovies, welcome to Black My Story Time, where every tale beats with truth, drama, and power. Let's get into it. Episode 7, A Ticket to a New Life? Flashback. The silence in the room was deafening, broken only by the steady ticking of the clock. She slipped back into bed, pulling the covers over herself as the anxiety crept in again, curling cold fingers around her chest. She stared into the dark and swallowed hard as reflections and memories flashed through her mind. She thought back to the first time she met him. She had still been a university student then, scraping by on coins and counting every penny just to survive. Her roommates and friends had been buzzing for weeks about the upcoming concert. One of America's biggest R&B stars. Danger Ross was coming to town, and he was popular with people of her age group. Everyone acted as if attending was a given, the excitement so thick it felt contagious. The dorms buzzed non-stop, outfits debated, hairstyles planned, makeup tested, accessories chosen with care, all in the slim hope of catching the superstar's eye. After all, he was devastatingly handsome, with a rock-hard body, moves reminiscent of Michael, and a voice that reached straight into your soul, as if he were singing to you alone. Julia was an ardent fan, through and through. Whenever his albums dropped, that was the one time she spared no expense, no matter how tight things were. Julia was well aware of the privileged ones among them, the students who would glide into VIP areas without effort, the ones guaranteed backstage access because of their family name, the ones whose parents were investors and would absolutely get the chance to meet the star. Girls like them had doors opened for them without a thought. For girls like Julia, not a chance. She sat with her friends beneath the massive mango tree, their unofficial daily meeting spot, laughing, chiming in, pretending she had already secured her ticket, pretending she belonged in their carefree world. But deep down, her heart ached. She couldn't even afford the cheapest nosebleed seat, not when every coin she touched had to be stretched, rationed, carefully budgeted just to stay afloat in university. Yet she played along, because how could she let them know the truth? How could she admit she lived on the edge of lack while they floated on clouds of privilege? She'd run the numbers in her head at least a dozen times, hoping she could shift something, anything, in her budget. But there was nothing left to move. Everything was already stretched paper thin. She wasn't even sure she'd afford next semester's tuition. Her parents' finances had dried up completely. Her student loan application was still pending. And college, her one shot at escape, was starting to feel like a beautiful dream slipping through her fingers. But how could she give up the only chance she had of climbing out of the life she'd been born into? A life of hand-to-mouth survival, of neighbors' pity, disguised as concern, of snide whispers that people like her family didn't belong. The only respectable thing they had left was the old house her father had inherited, once a symbol of status, now a decaying burden. Peeling paint, overgrown gardens, broken fences. The neighborhood watched it fall apart and blamed them for lowering the community's value. She couldn't return to that, to shame, to struggle, to the suffocating feeling of failure. Not after everything she'd sacrificed just to reach those university gates. She had to find a way to stay. She had to. These thoughts never left her, shadowing even the light moments. Her heart sank as she imagined her future, bleak, uncertain. Nothing like the carefree fantasies her friends were discussing around her. And certainly no space for a concert ticket to see the R&B artist she adored. Even that small joy was out of reach. She remembered heading back to the dorm that afternoon, dejected and defeated. The laughter of her friends still echoed in her ears, full of plans for the weekend's concert. Julia had finally accepted what she already knew. She would be the only one left behind, while everyone else lived their best lives, dancing to the voice of Danger Ross, one of America's biggest stars. Tears pricked the corners of her eyes. She tried to blink them away, but the weight of her situation clung to her chest like a stone. Her friends had wealthy parents, or boyfriends, who wouldn't blink twice at dropping cash for front-row seats. Meanwhile, she could barely afford lunch some days. She was so deep in her thoughts that she didn't even notice someone trying to get her attention, until a hand brushed against hers. She flinched. "Dylan!" she gasped, her voice trembling slightly. "Hey, Jules," he said gently. "Sorry, didn't mean to scare you. I was calling you, but you were somewhere far away, huh?" She looked away, wiping quickly at her eyes. "Yeah, I guess I was." Dylan's heart sank. He knew exactly why she was crying, and he hated seeing her like that. But then, an opportunity practically dropped into his lap, and instinctively, he thought of her. "You don't have a ticket, do you?" he asked gently. Julia let out a slow, sharp exhale, irritation flaring. "No, I don't. And what?" Her voice cut like glass. "Relax," Dylan said, lifting his hand slightly in surrender, a half smile tugging at his mouth. "No need to get defensive. I just noticed you seemed a little down while everyone else was hyped about the show." Her eyes narrowed, suspicion replacing her embarrassment. "So, you wanted to rub that in my face, is that it? Come on, Jules. How long have you known me?" Dylan tilted his head, his tone softening. He wasn't offended. He understood why she was on edge. He let out a slow sigh. "I'm not like that. And honestly, I'd be offended if I didn't understand what you're going through. I actually came to help. I know how much you want to go, so here's your chance. It's completely up to you." Her suspicion wavered, curiosity slipping through. "What are you talking about, Dylan?" He leaned in slightly, lowering his voice. "Look, my dad and his friend from Manchester bought VIP tickets for the show. Backstage passes, VIP tent, everything. But he just found out he can't make it. Something came up. He has to fly out of the country tomorrow. Now I'm going to the show, obviously. I've got plans with Jennifer." He paused, rubbing the back of his neck, looking mildly stressed. "But honestly, I don't want to be stuck babysitting Uncle Marcus when this was supposed to be a special night for me and Jenny, you know?" Julia's brows lifted, heart thudding. "Okay?" She tried to sound indifferent, not wanting to raise her hopes, but excitement was already creeping in. "So here's what I'm thinking." Dylan clasped his hands together in a dramatic plea. "Could you go with him to the show? Please. I would owe you big." Julia's face twisted with hesitation. "Wait, your dad's friend? What kind of friend are we talking about here?" Dylan laughed. "It's nothing shady, relax. He's cool. Older, yeah, but decent. You know my dad. His circle isn't full of weirdos." He shrugged. "It's just for the concert, nothing else. Be nice, make a little conversation. Enjoy yourself." He leaned in with a conspiratorial grin. "You'd basically have the golden ticket, Jules. VIP access. You'll be close enough to feel the man's sweat hit your face. Isn't that what you want? What you drool about every day?" Her lips twitched despite herself. "And all you gotta do," he continued, "is tell Uncle Marcus you want to meet your superstar crush, and boom, done." Her heart lifted before she could stop it. "You know I love him, right? He's my absolute favorite artist. I've wanted to see him perform for years." The excitement in her voice cracked. then faltered. Wait, Dylan, She couldn't finish. The truth hit her like a bucket of cold water. She wasn't prepared for a night like this. Jeans and a t-shirt weren't going to cut it. Not for a VIP event. And even if she tried to pull something together, where would she find the money? She could practically feel the night of her dreams slipping through her fingers. I got you, Dylan said, smiling as if he could read every frantic thought in her head. Her brows drew together. Dylan continued before she could speak. Jennifer will sort you out. She'll get you dressed, styled, everything. You'll be the belle of the night. Just don't tell Jennifer I said that. He grinned, and for a moment the weight on her chest eased. She's okay doing this for me? Julia asked, skepticism creeping in. Hey, it took a lot for me to convince her that you're just a friend. But now that she knows you're not a threat, she'll be your bestie. Julia forced a smile. A real one, but shaded with sadness. She knew exactly what he meant. She wasn't girlfriend material. Not for someone like Dylan. He would always choose from the upper echelon, where he belonged. She was tolerated among his friends because he made space for her. And she was useful because she was good at math. But deep down, she knew they weren't truly her friends. And every so often they reminded her, quietly, subtly, just enough to make sure she never forgot. The thought settled heavily. Going to the show with his uncle might actually be easier. He was one of them, yes. But unlike Dylan, he would likely see her plainly for what she was. A struggling student scraping by, fortunate enough to be Dylan's friend, and nothing more. With him, she wouldn't have to pretend. Still, she masked the sting, tucked it away like she always did, and accepted his generosity with as much grace as she could muster. Trust me, nobody in our crew will even get close to where you'll be standing. Make sure your camera's charged. This is front row energy, Jules. She hesitated, chewing her lip. You swear there's no funny business. Dylan, I'm not trying to end up in some mess. I swear, Dylan said, raising his hand like he was in court. It's just one night, a favor. Nothing weird. Thank you for joining me, my story lovies. Remember, every voice matters, and every story has power. If you love good drama and Caribbean stories, don't just watch. Join the family. Hit subscribe. Thanks again for watching. And stay tuned for the next intriguing episode of When the Crown Falls.